We are en vivo, as they say in certain parts of the country. That's live. And no, I'm not mad. Who can be mad with 100 likes? We're back. NBA is back. Big T, Sweet Travis. It's like the NBA knew we were disloyal fucks because they give us this slate after a week off and they say, really? You like golf? Really? You like hockey? You like cars turning left 6,000 times? Here you go. Here are the Spurs, the Pistons, a game that may not play, and one of the most popular players ruled out just 2 hours before lock. Welcome back, NBA. We could not have missed you more. Before we get into things, though, first of all, keep hitting the like button. Don't fucking stop. Don't you fucking stop. You keep hitting that like button because we need 450 to get the plays of the day, which are even more important now that Damian Lillard, and Jeremy Grant have been ruled out. If the Blazers plane can get through the weather and land safely in Sacramento, there's going to be a ton of value there. So we're going to pay attention to that. But before we get into all of that, once again, hit the like button. Follow me on Twitter at JTHayes Jr. too. Take a picture. Take a look at this. Take a look at this. What is that? We got to give it up for our boy Glock. This is a picture of the Alabama sky. I took this Big T on my way to Panama City Beach, where I am today, to play baseball this weekend. And before I get your thoughts on the break, it seemed like a very, very long week to me. And so much so, last Friday, no Hardwood show, no NBA. So I take the wife out. We go to a lovely steak dinner. She gets overserved a bit. Saturday morning, I'm supposed to have a baseball practice for this trip right here. And I said, you know what? It was 40 degrees out. That's for children, practicing baseball in 40-degree weather. But then I get out of bed and I hop out and she goes, what are you doing? Where are you going? I said, well, I made a couple of golf lineups, so I got to go set them. And literally she was so disgusted with me. She's like, you have an addiction problem. She's like, do you even know who to put in a golf lineup? And I turned around and I said, hey, sometimes it's better when I don't know the names. How was your break, Big T?
Similar to that, actually. A lot of similar vibes there from what you're giving. My favorite, though, was definitely when you made fun of Glock about his sky picture and then just kept going after him. It was just I laughed every single time. I don't know if Glock was serious at the beginning, but it was a great – there it is again. Get that puppy up there. I mean, what's better than a sky picture? Absolutely love it. And, yeah, it was a fun break. It felt slower than the past years. I don't know if I was just gambling more on the other stuff the last couple of years. It felt like there just wasn't that much going on. So it was nice to recharge a little bit. But I'm happy to have the NBA back tonight, obviously. And, yeah, back with you, boy. It's a fitting way to come back with Sweet Travis and JT at the hotel room. It is a good way to come back to business here.
Yeah, and listen, we missed the chaos. We obviously missed the chaos, or we wouldn't be here. But I got to get into what Sweet Travis was up to during the break because, listen,
his was almost as good as the sky picture. I mean, this dude, what he posted.
Yeah,
I mean, come on.
Yeah. So, Sweet Travis, you ended up at a place called Meow Wolf on Sunday night. Meow Wolf, and listen, I looked it up online because
where's the picture? We need a picture.
I gotta see what this place is, and if I'm being honest. I wouldn't take children or vulnerable adults there. I don't know what really goes on there, but what happens at Meow Wolf? What else did you get into during the break these last couple of days?
Not a lot happens there, I'll say that. I was hanging out, and my roommates were having a good time, and I had a friend flying into town, and they said, "Hey, we're going to Meow Wolf. We're doing lunch as well." So I was like, yeah, I have a day where I can, I have no obligations, right? Like there's not really anything I can do. And so I said, I'll go along for this trip and see what happens. And, I paid $50 to get in. It was
I didn't know about this. You paid to get in there?
Yeah, sadly paid to get in there. And the worst part about it was I texted my guy, Big T, right? And I said, Big T, will you have content up in time? Because I was very worried, very, very worried that I was going to go in there and not have a good time. And I said, I won't register for stuff because I don't want to be trying to hand build like 50 NBA All-Star teams. And then, of course, I get in there. I get a phone call from our guy, Bobby H. He says, are you playing this NBA slate? And I said, now I am, because I'm sitting in this art experience that I don't want to be at. And what do you know? FanDuel filled. Big T never got back to me to let me know his content would be up in time. So, yeah, overall, I did not have a great Sunday. I was stuck, bored. I was sitting in the gift shop. And also, I went to get a drink, right? You figure when you're at this place, let me go grab something to drink real quick to kind of like make the experience better. I didn't love the alcohol option. So I said, haven't had a root beer in a while.
JT, how long can this story go on? I mean, it's getting worse and worse by the minute. He wasn't even drinking. He paid $50, wasn't drinking, looking at art. How's he ever going to get workbench time?
It's getting worse. It's getting worse.
Yeah.
It sounds
way
like
worse by the minute.
But get this, the root beer was vegan and gluten-free. Who on earth would ever want that? I couldn't believe I actually had
the sky picture? Get the sky picture back up.
It was brutal. It was not a
good.
I mean, that's better. Now we're back. Now we're back.
Back to the. It's and it looks like it looked like AP was trying to get in here, but I guess
AP keeps adjusting.
I just leave it. Make him keep coming in and
he keeps adjusting the shot to the 3-shot overlay with the other one, and you keep changing it back.
Where's he at?
Showing the sky picture.
It takes him to get back in here and adjust it.
Go ahead and pop in here. Come on, let's go. All right. We'll see if AP is going to come because I want to hear about his break too. I mean, it was a long week. We've got a 9-game slate. As I said, Spurs, Pistons.
I can't get over the fact. How are you moving on? He paid $50 to go to an art exhibit and drink a gluten-free root beer.
Yeah, it was terrible. It was.
I
looked at the alcohol options and I was like, it was at the end of the experience for me. And I was like, I'm not going back in there. I wish I knew about this alcohol sooner. And who knows when we're leaving? And I just don't want to waste my money on like a $15 one. I felt like I was already in a sunk cost situation. So I was just like, let me just get a little bit of pep in my step, get some sugar in me, and just chill out and relax. And it didn't go well.
What was the remaining clientele there like? I mean, what were they? What was going on? Were they adults, children, elderly? There
was actually a mixed bag, and there were
elderly.
There were people dressed up in like hippie kind of outfits. It was a weird experience. I mean, it was. When I was in there.
Was it like the pirate convention with DC?
I mean, there was this one chick in like this like yellow hippie-ish outfit, and honestly, when I was walking through there, I said I would pay a lot of money to walk through this with Big T and just hear him give me
There's no chance in this planet you would ever see me there. And if I was, I would definitely be drinking.
Yeah, I mean, here's the other thing. I mean, I should have drank, but I've never done a gummy, and I'm not going to do my gummy first time in there, Big T.
That would have been a good move, actually.
First time, you think that's the play?
Feel the Band-Aid, man, sweet Travis.
I think it's a little risky, but maybe I should never
take. I mean, we got work to do with Sweet Travis on Friday. I don't know. What is this? Thursday, JT. Yeah. He's never had a gummy. I mean, I got the list of the first 10 minutes of this show is exponential.
I've never had a gummy. I mean, if you want to.
There you go, JT.
At least you drank like a horse, though.
Right. Well, I drink like an adult.
You're probably not even allowed. You're in the service. Like you're freaking in the FBI. Yeah,
that's an insult. I'm not in the FBI. I'm not, and I never was. But yeah, I've never had a gun. It's just something I don't do. But I do drink, and as you correctly stated, I drink to satisfaction. Yeah, there you go.
Coors Light. I got to get your request in again this year. For last year, you were the only one drinking the Coors Lights.
That's okay. It's no problem. I'll handle it. I'll finish it. All right, hit the like button. We got
freaking Phallic in there. He's like been talking about the vegan root beer for the first 10 minutes while Sweet Travis is going.
Well, he's going to tell us how he's going to construct his team with Pistons and Spurs. So I mean, we're not going to listen to that here. But we'll go ahead. We'll get moving on. So we've got 177 likes, and Steve, is going to share some Coors Light with me. I appreciate that. So we'll get into this. We'll go ahead and get started. Keep hitting the like button because 450 is the number, 511 watching. You should easily get it and get it well in time. We'll start out Denver at Cleveland. Cleveland favored by 223.5 total. Looks like Jamal Murray is going to play. Aaron Gordon's going to miss. Of course, Kevin Love no longer with Cleveland, but otherwise two pretty healthy teams. Big T, we'll get started with you. Denver, Cleveland, interest here.
Yeah, I wish I found out they were playing last night in Cleveland. I should have tried to go down there tonight and see my boy Yoke in action. But it's a weird spot right out of the gate. Like you said, there's 3 7:00 games. Denver just doesn't look that appetizing to me. I don't really like playing Yoke against teams like that with Jared Allen and Mobley inside, being able to alter shots. And you got these price tags for Cleveland that aren't anything that really catches my eye either. I mean, Donovan Mitchell is up to 9,500, Garland 8,400. First game of the night, I just don't see a ton here. I mean, maybe Garland at 8,400, but it's a big slate. There's underpriced guys all across the board, especially now with some value opening up late. I don't see a whole lot from this game outside of it being a good game to watch, just basketball wise. I'm excited for the game. I'm just not excited for the DFS options.
Right. Should be a good game with two very, very good, very talented, and very deep teams, right? We're talking about two pretty much outside of Aaron Gordon, fully healthy teams. Sweet Travis, I looked, and Jared Allen's price looks tempting at 6,600, but I don't think this is the slate to take a shot on one of these Cleveland bigs. Do you have any interest in this game?
Yeah, I mean, I think you can take a shot on a Jared Allen. One thing we'll note is the slate has totally changed since we kind of got on. Damian Lillard being ruled out and Jeremy Grant is going to change up the stud that everyone's going to go to, because Damian Lillard, JT's boy, he was going to be the chalk stud that everyone paid for. Now you might see a little bit of a different construction, because when you get him off the slate, we have a bit more value at the guard and forward position, which now I feel like we do not prioritize the center mid-tier options that were really good values as much, and we might embrace someone like Jokic at the center position as a raw points play. We also, I think, could embrace a spend-up guard like a Darius Garland, who could be a contrarian play. So those are things that I'm looking at. It's really Jared Allen and Jokic probably as the main guys that I'm keying in on right now. But overall, those other values are going to dictate where we go. And I do think it could dictate us considering someone like Jokic. And I don't think a lot of people want to play Jokic. I think most people are going to gravitate towards Embiid, which could make Jokic a really interesting contrarian spend at the center position tonight.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, the whole slate, you should almost just start with Portland, because once we get this news, it's just how do you not play? I mean, I don't know, three or four of these guys. They're all min price basically, which forces your roster construction. They're going against Sacramento, which is a decent matchup, but it's these price tags. I mean, you don't really. It's just forcing you. How are you not? I mean, Mangone always looks at this stuff. With the thread he puts on Twitter too. This is how people are building. This is how you should. How do we get away from playing 3 or 4 of these guys with the studs, Mangone? Is there any other path?
I mean, I think it's just thinking about how many that you play and the way you play them, right? I think it's a matter of mixing and matching your Jazz and Blazers. Now, I like to look at it as, let's say a lot of teams are pushing 5 or 6 of them on a team. Maybe I'll just play 4. That's still great to get exposure to those guys and then find other spots to be different. Also, another key point with this slate, keep in mind, if you lock into some of these early plays, you lock into the Cleveland guys, you lock into someone like Jokic. Well, what if you get a surprise starter at a position that you're not expecting? You do need some type of flexibility, because you will not have the starting lineup in time, right? That game starts a lot later. It's in Sacramento, which it's going to be interesting to see when that starting lineup comes out, if there's maybe plays that people are
they're all 3K though, so it doesn't matter. You can just adjust almost.
Well, the positions might. I mean, let me pull it up just to double check, because I mean, this news basically.
Is there any position that is not just an option though? If you go down the list, it's every position's covered almost. Where
I think the key one is Watford and Eubanks are only center eligible, and you can't put Watford in at that power forward spot if you wanted to. But
the funny thing is, those are the 2 guys that I don't like as much as the rest.
Yeah.
It's the funny part.
I mean, most of them
you got Keon Johnson at 3K. How are we? You just, I don't know how you're not playing Keon Johnson.
Yeah,
they have no guards.
The most expensive one that's not a center is Sharp at 3.8, and the rest are just cheap, right? So there is a lot more flexibility, like you mentioned, at kind of figuring out those positions. But just to call this out, like that Jazz game is earlier, right? So like,
I don't even like the Jazz. I mean, I know we're killing the freaking host here, but I don't even like the Utah near as much as Portland.
I mean, Utah's definitely in a good spot. I mean, we'll talk about it as we get there, but that is the key point of the slate. And
how do you know Utah wants to do it? Like, how do you know they're not just going to pack things in? Oh, well, at least we got K. Falix boy Fontecchio.
Yeah.
Well, so the Jazz have to. Here's the thing with the Jazz, right? I mean, I think people are like, "Oh, Colin Sexton's out. That's great. Kelly Olynyk's back. Kessler, the minutes have been up and down. I don't love the price there. I didn't like those guys before this news broke. Even with Damian Lillard and with Grant in, I thought Shadon Sharp and Cam Reddish were better values than speculating on whoever the fuck the Pistons are going to play than whatever the Spurs are going to do at those 3K prices. Now you add Keon Johnson in there, and it becomes you're going to pick amongst Jokic, Embiid, Tatum, Halliburton, Shea if you want, but now they've got more bodies. So you're definitely, I think, at least for me, right? You're playing at least 2, more likely 3, although I don't think you need them on this slate because of the pricing. But let's say you get to 3 Blazers. Now we can get into these other games. And
they're going to freaking crush, though, is the issue. Like, they're going to smash.
But Tony, this is where it's really simple for me. I just think you want to get different with your studs, and if everyone decides to play, Embiid,
I agree.
There's a big reason to be made to just go to Jokic because everyone's going to look at Jared Allen and be like, look at that center option. It's Jared Allen. He's a tough defender, and Jokic is matchup proof. Like, who cares, right?
And you just said it. The 2 Portland guys I don't like as much are centers, so it lines up really nicely there.
Yeah, so Jokic cannot be ignored on this slate, in my opinion. And another way to maybe make it different is maybe you decide to play these values, but instead of playing like 5 values, you play 4, and then you pair it with like 1 stud and then 3 mid-tier options, right? That's just the slate that we have been given, and that's
where
what
we
have
can let SaberSim dictate, right? We love talking about the SaberSim, but maybe you project some of these studs, even Jokic, project them for 55 or something, just a nice solid projection, not upside, and then give these Portland guys into the 30s, which I think you can. I think you can easily project these guys into the 30s and just see what happens. See what kind of builds you get with SaberSim.
Yeah, so we'll get into some of these other games with guys that you have to consider now. The challenge here, right? There wasn't really a mid-range before this news. A lot of these mid-range guys that you would go to have now been priced way up. You've got Jamal Murray at 8,700. All the Warriors are priced super high. You do have a couple of Lakers who I thought were interesting. We'll get to in that game, but a couple of guys that I think in the next game that were going to be ignored and maybe now not so much on the Boston side. Boston at Indiana. Boston is favorite.
JT, before we dive in, we have someone waiting in the back. I'm curious why he's here.
We're just derailing the host here today.
Yeah,
we're putting him to the test on the All-Star break.
We have a member in the back, and I don't know if you're holding him out on purpose or if we should let him in. I know he likes his attention.
Do I have to let him in?
I don't want to steal the. I'm asking. Do we let him in or do we not?
He can't come in. He can't come in on his own.
He doesn't have permissions, I don't think. That is the best part. So if he ever gets out of line, you can just put him back in timeout, and he can't get himself out of timeout, I think.
I do like putting people in timeout. Do you want him now, or do you want to wait a minute and see maybe
I want to talk about hammer woofing here. Like, if Keon Johnson gets 20, you'll eat your laptop? 20?
I think you better get a nice little steak knife out and fork and be ready to eat your laptop because it's looking like it could happen.
He's like the best player of the slate. What do you mean 20? At least to me. I mean, come on, Hammer. Stop woofing, baby.
I kind of think Shadon Sharp is the best player of the slate.
The funny thing is the 2 you said and Keon are like just they're the guards. They're the ones that are going to have to score.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
All right. You guys vote. We let him in now, or we wait?
I think we let him in, and then when he says something egregious, we put him in timeout and let him know what he did.
All right, there you go. All right. K. Falik, it's not time yet to give your thoughts on the Blazers.
Like the chest hairs, though. He came out of All-Star break with no chest hairs.
The slander was very hurtful on post All-Star break. I was very excited to get into this into the slate, and Mangone started talking about vegan root beer and stuff.
I agree with. I'm on K Phalic's side here.
I was asked how my break was. I didn't say I enjoyed it. I said what happened.
Like, what makes root beer not vegan is what I still want to know.
I don't know. I'm just telling you what it said on it. And it's some, again, these artsy people with their little fancy drinks. I don't know what to tell you.
Oh man, and then little Fontecchio action. It's a little different today's Fontecchio.
You did recommend him last week.
He was a good play last week when he got 30 minutes.
How did he do? Did he crush?
He didn't crush, but he could have.
Oh, are we sure he's ever gotten 30 minutes?
JT could have crushed on that bench behind him last night, but we don't know if he did or not.
Well, I just got here. So, I mean,
you said you've been spending all the time. You should have snap called and said, I've been putting in time the last week.
Well, I just left today. That was.
By the way, I can confirm the most minutes Fontecchio has played this season is 24. So
let him know, man. Go there. You go.
I'll let you know
back at him.
You need to update your charts.
There we go. I like this.
Holden in there. Actually, Brittany J. Thank you, Brittany, for pointing this out. 600 watching, 225 likes. I'll be honest, I don't know if we've earned the likes here in the last few minutes. Yeah. So let's go ahead.
I don't know about Holden either. I kind of think Kevin might have a bush. I'm not going to lie. He says no hairs anywhere. I think he might be on the Uncle T program. I'm not going to lie.
I don't know how to respond to that right now. But,
you either denied or
I also wanted to come on here and tell Mangone also that the build structure is really not an issue due to the multi-flexibility of all of these players on every single site, except for the center position, which again,
that's what we talked about, Kevin.
You just got to make a damn decision of, okay, do we play two centers before this game, or do we just leave all of those spots in the guard, forward, utility spot? And you can just say, hey, I'm just going to leave a small forward open, or I'm going to leave a shooting guard open and just fill it in accordingly.
Well, Phallic, not everyone's an expert like you in the water filtration business and, has a limousine and just is as rich as anything. Okay. There's some common men out there that, are out there working a hard life and actually need some help on this advice. So I'm here for the people. I'm not here for, rich Kevin.
Yeah, I'm with Butthole. And K Phallic tried to change the subject. I'm with Butthole. I think there's 70s Bush. Yeah, exactly. We were talking about important stuff, and he just
I don't want Run Pure Sports is a lovely organization that does not deserve to have any type of issues caused to them by any organizations due to the fact that we show off bushes or whatever you want me to show off.
Phallic
get him on timeout. Get him on timeout.
Phallic is trying to win a FSWGA award or something. I mean, come on, we're not up for those nominations.
Get him on.
Racine trying to help us out with a question. I will be playing for Portland. Yes, he will. Thank you. Yes, he will. We're gonna get there. Hit the like button. 245. Hit the like button for us ceasing that conversation.
I just need AP to swoop in and put the graphic back up in between.
Oh my God. All right. Boston and Indiana. Let's try it one more time. Celtics favored by 8, 232.5. Sweet Travis. Before we go to you in this game, just take a look, get a little peace.
Get the sky.
A little bit of peacefulness. And what are you liking here? Boston, Indiana, two very healthy teams, I might add.
Yeah, two very healthy teams. I know it is a old Malcolm Brogdon revenge game, but I don't think we need to go there. Also, I think Jason Tatum is an interesting spend-up option just because, again, we talk about trying to find ways to be different. And I think being different with your stud is not bad. Also, the Indiana Pacers matchup, isn't that a matchup that pretty much any stud can get home against? I mean, I think Big T would roster Snyder against the Indiana Pacers.
Easy now. Easy.
Yeah. I mean, it's going a little too far there.
Yeah, but, easy. At least give me JTHayes.
Snyder taking shots. Ooh. Unnecessary.
I still say, I mean, I make fun of Mangone catches strays about his golf game occasionally on the shows. Snyder's basketball game sucks. Like he's I don't care if he's been in the gym every day since he left my house. His game's awful.
But overall, I think the main thing I'm focusing on here is a Jason Tatum contrarian spend up, right? I think he could be a guy that gets it home. He did it for me the other day. And I remember looking at the team that I had and I said, I don't feel comfortable playing him, but the matchup's good. And it might be what gets it home. And having him at 4% at that forward position was valuable compared to how the guard positions perform. So I do think that maybe a spend up of a Jason Tatum could be really nice with some of these Blazers guard values that we've talked about.
We are going to bring K Falik back at 300 likes. So that's 41 more likes, 259 right now. We'll bring him back at 300. And then if the likes slow down again, he goes away again. That's the way this is going to go. Big T, people are saying, people are forgetting about Malcolm Brogdon. I think it's easy to forget about Malcolm Brogdon a little bit here. 5,700. You got everybody healthy. You got that value out in Portland that we have talked about and we'll talk about again. What do you like here in this Boston, Indianapolis? Any maybe contrarian shares of Tyrese Halliburton or Buddy Hield?
Yeah, I mean, I think the slate is very simple, and I agree with Mangone a lot with the studs where Halliburton on the surface, I agree. Like, you're probably not going to want to play him, but this slate could be won by a Halliburton or somebody like this going for 65 fantasy points or something when no one's going to play him. No one's playing Halliburton in 9,600. It'll be 5% owned tops. And he's a stud. So honestly, like I agree with Sweet Travis. Like all the studs are in play, and more so than usual because make no mistake about it. I'm playing 3 or 4 or more Portland guys, so that pushes me to the studs as much as I can, and I'm just not going to eliminate these guys. And Halliburton's in play, and yeah, Tatum has to be in play. Tatum's not going to get much ownership either. Although I do think some of these studs ownerships are going to come up higher than we had at the beginning of the day, just because of pure roster construction where you're just going to play these cheap guys. There's not much way around it. So Tatum, even if he gets up to 20% or something, I still think is a very good play. Coming off the All-Star game, we've seen it for years. These guys, this is the second half of the season. I think you start to see these good teams and studs start to ramp up to get ready for that playoff run. And I think Boston for sure. So Tatum, even Jaylen Brown, I mean, literally no one's going to play Jaylen Brown, but 9,200, I think I leave him in the pool too. So this game's another simple game for me. Just the studs, no one else in here, but I do think it's an interesting build too. We know how people build. Maybe you play Yoke, you play Tatum, and you play Halliburton or something. I mean, how much does that even leave you with? Let me look real quick. If I wanted to do that, Yoke, Halliburton.
JT,
26 more likes for Falik to come back.
Falik's not here. Falik left us.
Oh, he left us.
Maybe he'll jump.
So yeah, so so it works perfect for me actually. So they all start at 7:00, and it's kind of an interesting build to me to play the 3 studs where people are going to be backloading a little bit like they always do to wait on news. Lock in my 3 studs. I got 35-20 left for the rest, which doesn't seem like a lot. But when you look at those Portland guys, you got plenty to make it work. And there's something to be said for that. What if Yoke gets 70, Halliburton gets 65, Tatum gets 65, and you're sitting on that Portland value late? I can promise you're going to be feeling incredible with that setup going to the night part. So I love the studs, and I like it even more to be contrarian just in this early 7:00 lock window.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll move on. We're at 281
Falik just
likes.
doesn't care about the people. I mean, they tried to get 300 likes for him, and he just leaves. He's mad. Is he shaving?
Chris Tippett says Falik ran to the bathroom for a quick trim. I don't know.
Think he might have, just to prove we were wrong or something. You think it's like American Pie, the wedding, where it shoots out the window all over the cake?
It didn't look like there was a lot more to snip, though. It looked like it was pretty cleanly shorn. So we're not sure. We're not sure, but
I'm not sure though. A lot of times with bald people, they might have extra hair down low or something. I'm still, I don't know.
All right. Okay. So Detroit at Orlando. The Magic are 7-point favorites, 227.5. 2 very fully healthy teams, and Big T will stay with you because Killian Hayes is projected to be around 30% owned. And for me, it's just so difficult to get to a 30% owned Piston on this slate, especially now. You see anything you like from this Detroit-Orlando game? Orlando favored by 7.
Yeah, before the Portland news, he was going to be very, very popular. 4,700. They don't have. I mean, let me look. How many guys do they even have? Like 10 guys, but I don't. You definitely don't need it now. I mean, he's going to project good. I'm not going to remove him from my player pool or anything if he happens to pop in there on some teams. But he's got a couple things working against him. I mean, I just talked about locking in the studs early. I feel way worse about locking in like value guys early because, like you guys said, Utah, Portland. I don't like Utah as much, but you still have these guys that are just better plays than Killian Hayes to me. So for the most part, I'll be off. I'm not going to pull him totally out of my 150 or anything, but I can almost guarantee you he's not going to be a main team type play for me. And then Orlando is just not going to get it done on this slate for me. If you go mid-range, I mean, you could play the Wendell Carter, Markelle Fultz type plays. I think they're okay. And I probably should leave them in my 150. Not totally, because Detroit plays no defense. So these guys do have a 45, 50-point ceiling. So I'll leave them in my 150, but I don't have a ton of interest there.
Yeah, Travis, Wendell Carter Jr. was someone I was interested in before this news. Now, I don't know how that construction is going to look. What do you have here, Detroit at the Magic?
Yeah, I'm still interested in, but understand, like, if you do play him and then you play those Portland values, that is going to force you to probably spend up at another spot. Maybe force you to do like a Luka spend paired up with like a Tatum, or maybe it's like another center in the utility and it's like a Jokic, right? So I like Wendell Carter Jr. though. I don't want to completely ignore these guys in the pool that are around like 5'8" or 5'2" and like 6K that have the ability to have 40 or 50 DK points, while some of these studs that are in the 10K range, if they get 60, but you have like a guy at 5K getting you 45, that might be worth it more. So I think it's worth calling out that Wendell Carter Jr.'s upside is worth looking at. Also, don't mind Markelle Fultz. I think he could definitely thrive here in this matchup. Killian Hayes definitely feels like one of those options that was chalkier before, still could gain some ownership. It might be less now, but I'm not as excited to play him with other guard options there on the board. So kind of trying to stay away from him. I think you could make a case for Isaiah Stewart over Wiseman and Durant, mainly because I think it's a pretty good matchup. I know he's on the flow chart today, so I know some Rum Pure members will be on him. And he's not just center eligible, he also has that forward eligibility. So I think he has a decent ceiling where I won't completely X him out, but with this new value that we have on the Blazers, I much prefer those Blazers value plays versus them. But those are really the three guys in this game that I have any interest in that are mid-tier options.
All right. One last question. Alec Burks, 3,700. I mean, they have Isaiah Livers. They have Amadou Diallo. Any interest now with this news? I just don't know that he fits the build, even if he's going to get 26, 28 minutes.
Who'd you say?
Alec Burks.
Oh, yeah, definitely not.
Yeah.
Definitely not. It's not Alec Burks' season right now, I'll tell you.
No, it wasn't before for me, but I'm hearing him getting a little bit of steam. That probably changed. We'll move on. 301 likes. We're moving up to 425. If we don't get there, instead of the plays of the day, we'll just show you a beautiful photo of the Alabama sky. Memphis at Philly. Philly favored by 4, 217.5. John Morant priced all the way up here. The only note on Memphis, guy who hasn't been doing almost anything, Dylan Brooks, 4,200 here. Joel Embiid at 11-1. Harden at 9,900. And then two guys who've been playing big minutes, at least playing more minutes now and getting a little bit more run, a little bit more productivity. Tyrese Maxey and DeAnthony Melton, 5'3" and 3'9". Travis, will stay with you. What do you see in this game that you were interested in?
Yeah, I'll tell you this. Even at 4,200, I think if Big T said, man, go and I'll fund you your entries today if you play him, I still think I would say let's save your money and use it in better ways, because Dylan Brooks is definitely not it for me. Tobias Harris is coming in with some ownership. And you know who Tobias Harris reminds me of? And I'm curious to hear what you say, Big T. Reminds me of Josh Hart. We talked about him some slates before. The price looks like great, right? If I told you hey, everyone's rostering Talon Horton Tucker at 4,800 while Tobias Harris is 4,900. You would probably say that's insane, but based on recent production and this matchup where I think Embiid is going to absolutely dominate in, I just do not think it's a Tobias Harris slate at 4,900 with him gaining ownership. I'm out on him. I think there's other forwards I'd rather prefer. So, yeah, I think Tobias Harris is one of those guys that's gaining some ownership that I would rather fade right now. I do like Embiid a lot as a spend. I also shouldn't hate Harden. I think at his price of 9.9K, he definitely has the ability to be a bit of a lower owned play. That isn't a bad option here. So I think for me, it's Embiid number one, and then it's Harden number two. And that's mainly what I'm looking at here. And then on the Memphis side, I think for the most part, it's going to be a full fade here. I understand Jaren Jackson Jr. can have some good games at times, but I don't think I need to go to him or anyone else on this Memphis side, like Ja Morant, like this entire Memphis team. No one is garnering any of my interest here.
Big T, Riley Golf Pro says Tobias is third in line for Philly. I don't see it that way with Tyrese Maxey back. I think he and Melton, even though Maxey hasn't been starting, are really the other scorers here. And therefore, you kind of need Tobias Harris to luck into something. What do you see in this game?
I mean, Mango said it good, and you let in there too, where it's like, Tobias, why in the world are we playing Tobias on this slate? I would play those Portland guys, even if Tobias was, this is going to really sound crazy, but if Tobias was 3,500, I would play those Portland guys over Tobias Harris. Like, he doesn't have any upside. With all these guys in there, you got the two studs, and like you guys said, Maxey and Melton both in there. There's just, he doesn't care. He's another veteran that could care less about his stats whatsoever. He wants to go out and be a role player, play defense, rebound, hit an open shot when he gets it. He's not the third option. He might be the fifth option. I literally don't see it. Some slates, there could be another slate this week even where Tobias Harris is 4,700 that he makes sense on. If we didn't have all the guaranteed value, and just say 27 would be good for Tobias, then you play him. But I'm not happy if 27 tonight at 5K. These cheaper guys, you like Tobias, you got to get 40 from him. I know that sounds crazy, but with all this value, and you can play the cheapies and the studs, you need 40 from a 5K guy. And Tobias Harris isn't getting you 40. Outside of injuries or weird foul trouble or stuff like that, he ain't getting you 40. So I think he's just a very, very easy fade. And I think Harden's a pretty easy fade too, even though we're saying a lot of the studs. With Maxey and Melton and this team getting close to full strength, I just don't see upside from Harden really all that much either. But I do think Embiid, the pivot from Yoke to Embiid might be where you win tonight. Like, you can kind of afford Yoke, and Yoke's going to project a little bit better. But I like the Embiid spot better, and I just think he could have a huge game. So on Embiid.
I think Embiid has more ownership than Jokic, Tony. You
think? Whoever has less ownership is who I would like more. So if Embiid's higher, I would like Yoke more. And I do like that Yoke's, even though it's only a half hour, I do think there's value in locking in those 7 o'clock studs, because once they're locked, as we know, you can't get them back, and that ownership could come in lower than people think. So, yeah, that's a good point. So I like Yoke more if he's going to be lower on, but I still like Embiid. Not going to play any of the other Philly guys. And then Memphis, I agree. I mean, I think Ja has to be in play on this slate, just the way it sets up. But he's not even in my top 7 studs or anything. So, like in my 150, he's going to be 3-4% owned. Maybe I play 10% Ja Morant in my 150. And if he crushes, then I'm okay. But definitely not one of my favorites.
Well, good news. Butthole Jenkins says if Big T hates Tobias, then I hate Tobias. So you've got to follow.
He's just a man of knowledge. I mean, so much knowledge he casts out.
All right, 313 likes. We need to get to 425. We don't have a lot of time to do it. We're moving on. San Antonio at Dallas. The Spurs, they have ruled out Trey Jones. The team is tanking. A 235.5 total, though. Dallas, 14-point favorites. Big T, can you see yourself on anything here? Luka, expensive. He's got Kyrie back in this game now. What we've seen so far is that their per minute production has gone down when they're both on the court in the same game. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, you got an interesting situation here too, because you're going against the Spurs, who are clearly going to tank. I mean, they might not win a game the rest of the year. That's how hard they're going to tank. Like, we've seen it back when they got Tim Duncan. Even they were the first team to ever tank. I mean, Robinson was out that whole year, so they just tanked, got Duncan, dominated for the next 15 years. So they're going to tank. Make no mistake about it. So, do I like Luka and Kyrie? I mean, I don't think anyone's going to play Kyrie, literally anyone. And he's going against the Spurs. I still think people like Luka are going to be better in tougher matchups, as crazy as that sounds. In an easy matchup, I almost put it like an all-star type game. Like, if the Spurs are just laying down and it's a blowout, I think I actually side with Kyrie over Luka. And that's an extremely hot take, I'm sure, because Luka's going to get all kinds of ownership now. Because why? He's the highest projected guy, and we can afford the highest projected guy on this slate. So I think that's another way, again, to keep referencing Mangone's tweet, but like, these are the way people build. Luka with the Portland guys. Maybe you pivot to Kyrie, who loves beating up on bad defenses, who loves thriving in all-star games. Maybe he comes out and crushes it at a tenth of the ownership, but Luka will be 35, 40%. Kyrie will be 3 or 4%. Like, I think Kyrie Irving is one of the sneakiest plays of the slate going against the Spurs. Just no one's going to play him. So I like that pivot a ton. And I mean, the Spurs, there's no way you're playing guys on this team tonight. I think people will play Zach Collins because his projection's good. Branham's similar to JTHayes, where they project okay, but I'm not playing Spurs on this slate. I'm not. So if people play Zach Collins, go ahead. I'm not playing the rest of the year almost until they get to where OKC was last year, where they're literally rolling out like Charles Bassey and Blake Wesley and the full scrub lineup later in the year, which I'm sure will come at some point. Then we can hop back on them. But right now, I mean, why in the world am I playing Spurs guys? I'm happy that Zach Collins projects good so that people play him, because I just don't see it.
All right, Travis, any interest here in San Antonio and Dallas? And Bobby Hunterbrink are asking if we skip New Orleans and Toronto. Yes, unintentionally, but there really isn't a lot to talk about. But we will go back to Toronto and New Orleans and spend the 15 seconds that we were going to spend on that game as soon as we're done with Dallas and San Antonio.
I think we'll be quicker on that than Big T is on the workbench. I'll tell you that. It's going to be a fast one.
Ooh, I like that.
Let's talk Big T's take with Kyrie, because I think the Kyrie take, I think it's a strong one, just because, listen, everyone's playing Luka, right? I mean, it's just because, again, raw points, like, it's the guy that fits. Listen, if you go in and make Kyrie Irving the top raw points guy let's say you make him 70 DK points, he is going to pop up just because we have all the infinite value to be able to make that work. I think Kyrie's a really intriguing pivot, someone that I'm looking to go to. And you can put him in that shooting guard spot. And yes, I know positions don't matter as much, but sometimes when you kind of put someone in a spend spot where not everyone else is spending, let's say everyone's spending at point guard and center, and you put Kyrie in a shooting guard spot. Sometimes you just pop up with a little bit of different, unique teams. Yes, you'll have other teams that spit out just the normal guys that are very flexible in positions, but you might see a team that kind of spikes your interest a little bit, and you're like, wow, that's kind of intriguing there. And that might be a team that looks a little different, but projects well. So I like this spot for Kyrie as a leverage play off of Luka. Kind of like how I talked about, I liked Harden a little bit because I think he could leverage Embiid a little bit. And just like Luka, I think Kyrie can leverage him a bit as well. So I thought that was pretty good points. I probably have more interest in the Spurs than Big T does. I like Collins a little bit at 5.6K. I'm not in love with it, but I like it. It is one of those price tags like we have talked about before. I know Big T harps on this point a lot. Like at 5.6K, Zach Collins getting you like 25 or 30 ain't enough anymore, right? When he was 4-1, it was great. It is a little bit of a heftier tag. I think he's in play, but I do prefer some of these Portland value plays a bit more. I won't pull him out of my pool, but I will think about kind of his ownership when I see it come in as we get closer to the slate lock time. If you told me, play any of these like cheap Spurs like Branham or play these Portland guys, listen, I just don't care. I'm just going to play the cheap Portland guys. My goal is to be a little bit different up top with my studs and some of my constructions. My goal is not to be like, let me fade these Portland value plays and play Spurs values instead. I want to be contrarian, but I don't want to be stupid. So I'm going to do my best not to be stupid.
Prior to the Portland news, the Optos were spitting out a good amount of Devontae Graham. I really wasn't any interest in him for either of you.
No. And to call this out, Dallas plays at a very slow pace, right? Typically, yes, they have kind of picked the pace up a little bit with Kyrie, but I don't know. I'm a little worried about the Spurs when we have all these other better value plays. I just think there's other ways I can find ways to be different. Now, will I X them out of my 150? Will I just go in and X all the Spurs out? I don't think I'll do that. But when I run stuff and I look at my teams, if I see I'm getting like 50% Branham, I'm certainly going to make an adjustment to kind of dumb down that production a little bit and get less on my teams. And like Big T has said in the past, if I move Branham's projection down from like, I don't know, 28 to like 23 and I'm still getting some, there might be a reason why I'm still getting some, so I won't completely X him. I will definitely lower his projection down so I don't get as many Spurs on my teams.
Andrew Martinez asked an interesting question, and I think the answer for me here, and just the question first, do we get the news if Portland plays before lock? The plane is in the air. They ruled out Damian Lillard. They ruled out Jeremy Grant. I think that means they're going to play and they're going to kind of punt this game and not risk their studs getting out of a rhythm with a much, much different routine, taking off and flying into Sacramento in the mid-afternoon. But, Tony, I'll go to you with this. I think the answer is no, as long as the plane's in the air, which it is. Any chance this game really doesn't happen tonight?
No, and I mean, we would have heard stuff like if the flight hadn't taken off. Once they get in the air and they get there, they're going to play it. I mean, these are professional athletes. Like they might whine and cry about it a little bit, but they already rolled out the two guys. So they're going to play. I mean, and if they don't, I'm screwed because I'm definitely basing my night on them playing. I'll have to pivot to plays that I don't like near as much, especially like imagine that team that with the three early studs. The 3,500 per player doesn't look very good if Portland's off the slate. I'll tell you that much.
The good news, Tony, is, and I know you don't love Utah Jazz value, but listen, an hour and a half before the game is when the coach hits the podium. And that would be and I'm looking at the times for me, that's 8 o'clock my time. So it's 10 o'clock Eastern. You'll have them hit the podium at my time, 6:30, and then that game starts at 7. So you'll have 30 minutes to pivot all your plays over to Jazz options if you'd like. Maybe you won't have as much salary. That could be one of the concerns. But the point I'm getting at is you will have time to make some type of adjustments. They won't hit the podium and say, oh, we're playing the game, and then it gets canceled an hour before. You will know if that somehow happens. And I agree with Tony. This game is going to play. I feel pretty confident.
Yeah, that's my feeling as well. All right. We'll go back really quickly. TH4 Tyler, what about the Warriors, guys? Holy shit. We're going to get to the Warriors game. I'm actually, I knew you would ask about them. All right. Really quickly, Travis, stick with you here. Pelicans at the Raptors. Raptors favored by 3, 222.5. I really don't have any interest in this game. I had some minor interest in Jacob Poeltl, but not really. Anything for you?
Yeah, I'm good. Let's move this thing on.
Big T, anything in Toronto and New Orleans?
I think you can play the studs. I know I'm being redundant, but I would maybe at the end we should rank our stud, but like I would rank them down 10th, 11th, 12th, like way down the list of studs. But that would be the only ones I would even consider in this game.
I mean, Van Vliet at 9,700 on DraftKings is just, I looked at the price and said, no, I'll move on.
I agree with you, but it's still the point. Like, I could see one of these like weird low-owned studs winning someone a lot of money tonight because it is a bad price. We can agree on that. We'd all agree on that. Like, he's not as good of a play, but when he somehow gets 75 or something, like you just win all the money. And again, I'm not even saying I like him, so I don't.
It's just tough with Trent back, OG back.
Yeah,
all these guys are very priced up, and I think to your point, right? If I want to concede on something, he was certainly a much worse play before Damian Lillard got ruled out, right?
Yeah.
Now I guess he moves into the realm of, yeah, you can consider him or Siakam or whatever. I just
they're definitely bad plays though. So you're right about that. Like 100%, no doubt about it. They're bad plays, like 100%.
The way I find them interesting is if, like, let's say there's like a 2-stud build where people are going Luka and Embiid. If you get like this 3-stud build where like one of them's Fred VanVleet, the other one's like Kyrie Irving, and then like you grab, I don't know, like Ja Morant, right? Where like you have the ability to grab 3 studs when other people have the ability to grab 2. That's where I could find that build interesting, but I'm not going to like go in and grab VanVleet and like CJ McCollum and Siakam, something crazy. It'd be like maybe 1. So maybe one rule to set is max 1 from each side of this game. That way you don't get like somehow get like 2 of them. I doubt you will when using Opto, but I would really want to restrict it to max of 1 of these studs, I think, here.
All right. We are at 357. We've got 3 games left. 1 we've pretty much already talked about. 1 I'm pretty confident we're going to have very little interest in. So that means you don't have a lot of time to get to 425. And like I said, you don't get the plays of the day. We're not going to waste time. We're simply going to show you that beautiful Alabama sky and move forward on with our nights. Michael Knack, can you play Harden and Beat together? I mean, you can. It's physically possible to go ahead and click them both in the same lineup. That is not something that I plan on doing tonight. I'll let you guys answer as you get your plays for this next game. Looks like one of these sides at least is going to be pretty popular. At least it was. The Thunder at Utah. Utah, a 3-point favorite, 237.5. Lou Dort is back here. Colin Sexton is out for the Jazz. Of course, Kelly Olynyk back and playing big minutes. And Big T, I mean, the Thunder defense, the whole team has been playing incredible. This is a better defense. I don't know how interested I am, quite honestly, in any of these Jazz players at these prices, even the very popular Talen Horton-Tucker. What about you?
Yeah, I agree. This is chalk that I don't like. I don't see it. OKC has played good D. They played tough all year. I just don't see it. I don't love these price tags. Don't get me wrong. I definitely think they're decent plays, and I can see why optimizers are pushing them because they don't have a deep bench. I mean, Rudy Gay is their 7th guy? Toscana Anderson, their 8th. Fontecchio. I mean, they're definitely thin. So I get it. I totally get why the optimizers are pushing it. I just don't find myself on this build that much where I think these projections are good. Like Walker Kessler, mid-30s, Horton, Tucker, around 30s, Clarkson, high 30s. Like, they're fine. But when I plump these Portland guys into the 30s, I'm just not going to get the Utah guys. I just won't. So do I think they're in play? Like Markkanen at 9,400? I just don't see it. I don't. So I'm going to leave these guys in my pool, though, and I'm going to give them fair projections. And this is where it goes to using SaberSim, honestly. And that's where I think I've gotten better over the years is trusting the projections. If I trust these Utah projections, which I do, I feel good about them, which is the reason they pop off. I mean, all 4 of them in the 30s and Markkanen in the 40s. I feel okay about those projections, so I'll leave them in. I just don't see myself getting very much of them, though, at where they're at. And then OKC is, again, just the SGA. Don't love SGA, but against Utah, it's a good matchup. I could see playing SGA in this spot for sure.
And then for you, any Embiid with Harden?
I don't even like Harden, so.
Okay. All right. Travis, Oklahoma City at Utah. Lou Dort, minutes have been ramping up. He's now only 4,400. Of course, we do now have this other value. Any interest here on anyone outside of Shea or any of these other guys?
Yeah, it feels like the wrong slate for someone like Lou Dort. I just think there's other plays I'd rather play instead. I think let's go to Shea Gilgeous-Alexander because I think I prefer him over Ja Morant as a stud spend up that I would consider. So that's one guy I have some interest in. We know Utah's gotten destroyed by point guards. Listen, SGA, he definitely gets buckets. And then when he gets like the big double-double or triple-double game, that's where you see that massive ceiling hit. And I also think Utah has enough firepower to keep this game at least competitive enough to see SGA hit that ceiling. So I do think he's a pretty interesting contrarian stud option. Let's talk about these other Jazz values. So Talen Horton-Tucker is the interesting one. He is still gaining a lot of ownership. He's guard and forward eligible, which matters. And if you look at his game logs at 4.8K, believe it, yeah, 20 DK points, 17, 26, 32, 40, 21, and 37. pretty good performances at 4.8, and that was with like Sexton in, and I think he's likely going to close in this spot. And I also think there's a chance that you see Kelly Olynyk close over Walker Kessler with a more small ball lineup if they are losing, right? I think the only way you see the Kelly O and the Walker Kessler team is if Walker Kessler is clearly dominating. And if he is, then they're likely leading in that spot. So that's something that I'm definitely thinking about for sure when kind of constructing my teams, which makes me not as excited about Walker Kessler because that center position is very deep. I do think Jordan Clarkson, one thing to call out with him, like I kind of mentioned before, when you have the ability to grab a bunch of different studs that have the upside to get 40 or 50 DK points, I put Jordan Clarkson in that bucket even at 7.5K. So not someone that I'm going to ignore on this slate. I think he's in the conversation as a pretty good spend up. And he's one of those guys, he could be sitting at 13 DK points and you're really frustrated and end with like 45. It would not totally surprise me. I just think the usage is so high in this spot. So I like Jordan Clarkson and Talon Horton-Tucker the most. Those are the two I'm keying in on. The next guy I don't mind is Kelly Olynyk. Like I said, I think there's more paths for him rather than Walker Kessler because he has forward eligibility. I know Big T is going to tell me he has cement feet and everything, but I do think his upside in this matchup is higher than some people realize. So, yeah, I'm not trying to shots fired at you, Big T, but I do think Kelly Olynyk is a better play than you.
I think Jordan Clarkson's the worst player on the slate, so I'll fire back at you.
Well, we'll disagree on that. If you find somebody that's in a similar range that you like more that we can agree for a lunch bet, I'm happy to do that because we'll be seeing each other kind of soon. Maybe I can get lunch on the airport, and maybe our boy Butthole Jenkins will be sitting with you on the plane ride home.
Big T on that point, just to answer the question directly, any Kelly O for you tonight?
I don't see myself getting him. I got 150 teams, though. I'm leaving him in my player pool, and I'll just be honest. I'm going to project him for, I don't know, low 30s. So if he hits some of my teams at low 30s, then I'll definitely get some of him. I don't like him, though, is the way to answer that question.
All right, fair point. And 381 likes. Remember, if we don't get to 425, this is what you get for the plays.
I love this guy
right
picture.
here.
It's my favorite.
Beautiful Alabama sky. And like I said, we've got basically a game and a quarter because we've talked so much already about the last game, but there's one game before that. Golden State at the Lakers. Lakers favored by 4, a 236 total. Golden State priced up egregiously, except for Dante DiVincenzo perhaps, and Kevon Looney at 4,400. The Lakers are going to continue to start Malik Beasley and Jared Vanderbilt. LeBron is back here, both LeBron and AD priced up. Looks like it's going to be Russell and not Schroeder who starts. We'll stay with you, Travis. Any interest in the Lakers or the Warriors? Any pieces here? And could you imagine a world where you pay $9,100 for Jordan Poole and $8,800 for Klay Thompson?
No, I wasn't excited about him at 8,100. I doubt I'll be excited at 9,100. I do think LeBron is, again, kind of like the Tatum, right? Another contrarian spend up. Just a lot of people are not spending at forward. I want to call that out. Forward position, you will not see people spending up as much. I think LeBron is a pretty interesting one. He does get to be fresh off that break. I know he got hurt in the All-Star game. No one's actually worried about that. So I think he's interesting. And Warrior side, I'm full fading, and I'm even full fading Kevon Looney. I know he was popping up as a pretty good value prior to the Portland news. I don't know if he'll still hit some teams, but if he is, I'm not trying to get that much exposure to him. So I'm not as excited there on those guys.
Spencer Smith says Phallic likes Jordan Poole. Big T, what are your thoughts here, Warriors, Lakers?
Yeah, I mean, the Warriors are just a very easy fade. 9,100 for Jordan Poole. I'm going to make him prove it to me, like the GIF we always talk about. I'm going to F around and make him show me, because I just 9,100. I can't do it. So for me, it's just the usual. LeBron definitely in play. AD at center, again, that center position. Everyone will kind of go to Yoke and Embiid up top. I think you could pivot to old AD at a low ownership, and low-owned studs are going to ship this slate tonight for sure, at least in my opinion. So I like them. D-Lo, if you're going with the mid-tier build, the Lakers made some nice pickups. I'm not going to say they're like a title contender because they probably aren't, but if they stay fully healthy, they at least aren't stone dead like they were with Westbrook. I mean, D'Lo is a much nicer fit for this team, and Vanderbilt, Beasley, these guys, they did pretty good at the trade deadline. LeBron had to be happy because they didn't have anything to give, and they somehow got pieces back, which I think they almost pulled a miracle. Not that they can win it, but they're not stone dead with the roster they got anymore. I'll just say that. But, yeah, Golden State, easy fade. Lakers, just the studs and D'Lo.
All right, moving on to the last game of the night. Need 26 more likes to get to the plays of the day, which on a slate like this could be very valuable. Big T, I'll stay with you. Portland at Sacramento, the line was 5. I'm sure it's moved maybe quite a bit with Lillard and Grant ruled out. 240 total. We've talked a lot about the Portland side. Obviously, they are playing Sacramento. Best plays before this news, you had Harrison Barnes at 5K on DraftKings, Keegan Murray at 4,700. I had some mild interest in Sabonis at 10-1. I was not going to play De'Aaron Fox at 9,800. But now with this news, the game could stay close. You never know if it's going to stay close or not. But it's more likely that maybe we don't see Domantas Sabonis get the kind of run that he needs to pay off that 10.1K price tag. Although, like you said, he's going to be low owned. What do you got here? The rest of Portland at Sacramento.
And we always talk about it. Everyone will look at the Portland guys, but you get the run back at a low ownership. And I do think Sabonis is the type of guy that just could pound a bad matchup. Some guys don't. I talked about Luka. I don't think Luka always gets up for these easy matchups. I think Sabonis could really get in there and crush a little bit tonight versus Portland. Obviously, there's risk of a blowout. Portland's it's up to 10.5. It looks like the spread. But I do think there's something to be said for sitting on Sabonis with these Portland guys, hoping the game stays a little close or even reasonably close. And I don't know. I like Sabonis. I mean, Fox, what has Fox been doing lately before the break? He's been doing a 9,800 feels very hefty for him, but he's been 40 minutes.
Yeah,
I think you want Fox. I think you want Fox if you think the game's competitive because he does get that 5 minutes like closeout. I'm the guy. Like that is the run he always gets. So if you do get the close game, he is going to make sure that he has the ball in his hands for the final 5 minutes. If the game blows out, yeah, you're probably going to be SOL with Fox in your lineup. But if that game stays tight, you're going to get a huge high usage of like 5 to 7 minutes of Fox. So if you do want to play that angle, I don't hate it completely, Tony.
It's interesting too because you look. I was kind of laughing at the price tag, but you look at every game that stayed close, 40 minutes, right in that 40-minute range, and right in that 50+ fantasy point range. So the price tag seems rough on paper, and you're definitely not going to get there in a blowout. I don't think at 9,800. So you're definitely going to need it close. But I mean, who's to say Portland can't keep this thing close? And by close, all it has to be is a 8 to 15 point game or something in the fourth where these guys are still going to be in there. So I do think there's some credence to these guys, Sabonis and Fox. Maybe I play one team tonight with Sabonis and Fox and then the Portland guys. Like I could see myself doing that with one other stud and just kind of sitting on it. You never know how the news will break. You can always pivot to LeBron or AD or who knows? I mean, that could be a night slate team too. We like to do that. I think the guys are going on playback again tonight. Make sure to check that out. But I'm sure the late slate, I'm going to pound the late slate tonight because I love this game and I don't like Golden State. I don't love the Lakers. I love when you can play the late slate and really focus in on just a condensed spot, even though it's a 2-game slate. So I'm all about that. And then as far as Portland, I mean, we've talked the whole show how we think they're the best plays. I would rank them for sure. Keon Johnson's number one for me. Just with those guards out, he's one. And then Shaedon Sharpe and Cam Reddish. All the offensive guys are the ones I want. Like Thibault, I like Thibault when they have all the scorers out there where he can kind of blend in. I don't like Thibault when they don't have offense because they need it. So I don't like Eubanks. I don't really like Nasir Little all that much. I like him. I just don't like him as much as these other guys. Jabari Walker looked good to me before the break, and he's 3K, so I like him. I don't know if I can play like Watford just hasn't looked great to me. But, I mean, these guys are all great plays. We need to see who the starters are. Whoever ends up starting will definitely be in play for me, except for like Eubanks. I don't want to play Eubanks at 4,600. I'm just going to take him out of my pool even. I just don't like what they've done with him.
All right, Travis, before we go to you, we do have some weird news here, not surprisingly. Embiid has an illness that was not disclosed on the injury report. He did not go through shoot-around today, but Doc Rivers says he's probable.
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, Doc plays games. He's a clown. So just stay close to that. Like, don't walk away from your computer, when the Embiid news is about to drop. Make sure and confirm he's in. Just because they can be a little weird, but I think he's in. I'm not too worried about it, JT.
Just giving you the news and remembering how much we love NBA and how glad we are that it's back. Thoughts on Portland and Sacramento, Travis?
Yeah, I think Tony brought up a lot of good points. Listen, these Portland guys are all good plays, all these forwards, guards. I think Shadon Sharp is one of the best ones you can play. Starting lineups are going to be key and important. Every guy except Drew Eubanks is $3,800 or more. I'm going to make sure to be loaded up on these guys. It's a great night to order pizza, right? Just order pizza. Don't sit and make food. This is the perfect night to just sit back, relax, adjust your lineups, let other people go out and do stuff. Lock it in at home, grab yourself a drink, eat some pizza, have a good night. Unless you're JSU, I don't know why he hates pizza, but that's what I'm doing. And then I also think that Sabonis, like Tony said, is an amazing play. A lot of people are going to play a guy like Embiid instead. Sabonis will get some ownership, but I think he's a really good spend up. It also is against his dad's former team. If you remember Arvydas Sabonis, right? Maybe there's a little narrative there. I'm not sure, playing against the Blazers, but I do think it's a good spot for Domantas Sabonis as a nice spend up that you want to consider. And if you think the game's competitive, he certainly could be part of it.
Yeah, a night to eat pizza. Definitely not a night to check out the Meow Wolf and see what's going on there on a Thursday evening. So 427, I mean, if we take our likes away, that's 424, and that means you would get the beautiful Alabama sky. I don't know. I'll leave it to you guys to decide. They kind of hit the number right, so close to it. I mean, I'll let you guys decide if we're giving the plays of the day or not.
I'm always a softie. I love the people.
Soft T44 is the boss man. He says what goes. So we're giving out the plays, JT.
Big Dick Nick says he's also orange in Discord because of my code. I forgot to tell you guys the code today. It's JTHayes 15. Go ahead, write that down. That gets you a month free, any package, even the whole package. So go ahead, sign up, JTHayes 15. Follow me on Twitter. That's JTHayes 15. You are getting us to 444. All right, so we can officially retire this photo and move on to
at least till tomorrow.
At least till tomorrow.
Yeah.
We'll move on to the plays of the day. Sweet Travis. The Sweet Travis play of the day is always one of my favorite things. It's one of my favorite things to look at. Maybe it's because my own face is in there, but the Sweet Travis play of the day. Who you got?
Yeah, the marshmallows is my favorite part. And pull that up real quick, JT. Are we going to have those little, the thing in my mouth, right? The little things that shoot. Are we going to have those at the party, Big T? Will you have some of those available for us?
I hope I got some marshmallows with JT's mug on it. I know that.
Yeah, we'll put that in the request when we kind of get things set up. We need some marshmallows with JT's mug on it. But I do like
I'd rather talk about marshmallows with my face on them than whatever Travis is putting in his mouth. So go ahead, Travis, with your Sweet Travis play of the day.
All right. I do think it's going to go on with the common theme of this slate. Big T talked about it. I talked about it. Contrarian stud. So who is my favorite contrarian stud to look at? Well, one way you can indicate it is I think it's a great view on the flow chart, right? He's up high on the point guard spot. We love to attack guards against Utah, right? Also, this spread, it's a very close one, right? It's a 1-point spread, and it's in Utah where Shai Gilgeous-Alexander just was. And if you want a little narrative to throw on top of it, SGA said he's better than LeBron at his age. I mean, if you're going to talk like that, you better come out the break strong. I think we get a big SGA game here. So give me Shai Gilgeous-Alexander at 10.5K at the guard spot as a contrarian spend-up play as the Sweet Travis play of the day.
All right. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander as the Sweet Travis play of the day. I'll go next with the Eiffel Tower play of the day. And it's tough. It's tough because the slate completely changed. I had my guy picked out, and now I have to go in a completely different direction. I think it's an obvious slate where you're going to spend up at the center position. You're going to spend up at the point guard position. And I don't know. I think I'm just going to go a little bit off here. I think this has been a good matchup for opposing centers. It's tough, but I'm going to go ahead and say that he's going to do a little better than we expected with LeBron James back and go with Anthony Davis in this matchup against Kevon Looney with Draymond Green likely guarding LeBron. So we've got Shea, we've got Anthony Davis, and now we're going to get to the Run Pure workbench play of the night. Big T, we've been talking about this slate. Lots of big differences. One big difference that is not such a difference at all is you see Holden and Sweet Travis looking on as you enjoy the bench. Who is it, the workbench play of the day?
I like that AD call too, because I think they ramp up. I think they ramp up big time in the second half of the year. I think they have to. They're freaking in. What are they in? They're in like 12th place, 13th place, something, wherever they're at. They got to win games. So I think they play good. I love the AD call. But my play for sure, the whole time, I don't always know the whole show. I knew the whole show today who it was going to be. And it's my boy, Uncle Drew, the pivot off Luka. Everyone wants to play Luka. I want to play my boy Kyrie, Uncle Drew, whatever you want to call him. He's a little goofy, but he's happy in Dallas, I think, at least right now. That might not last long. But I think he gets buckets. I've played point guards against the Spurs forever. This is just such a good spot. And it's even better because everyone's going to play Luka. I mean, just run the optimizer with these Portland values. Luka is going to be jammed over Kyrie. I could even see playing the same Luka teams and just pivoting to Kyrie and leaving salary in a big tournament because I think Kyrie outscores him. And Uncle Drew, workbench play of the day. The world is flat, play of the day, Hammer says. Yeah.
We know that Kyrie's happiness is always temporary, but ours here on the Hardwood is always extended. That's it. Enjoy the Thursday night. Stay tuned to your computers to see if Joel Embiid plays, to make sure that the Portland team plane arrives safely in Sacramento and that everyone except Dame and Jeremy Grant gets off the plane and shows up to the arena. And for Sweet Travis, for Big T, I'm JTHayes. Once again, follow me on Twitter